Good evening all. In discussing historical literacy today, I used America's Historical Imprints database to research the militia. I searched for the Pennsylvania militia, but the search led primarily to court cases involving Philadelphia. I changed my search terms to cover artillery, drill and tactics, cavalry, infantry, militia, and military education. Two articles stood out to me. The first was from 1759, the Gentleman's Complete Military Guide, or Dictionary. The second article was an imprint of Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben's regulations for the order and discipline of the troops of the United States. I was struck by the difficulty of reading the articles. I am glad that historians and archivists preserve these important articles of early American history. I also noticed the spelling and historic fonts were made reading a little more difficult. As I read the Gentleman's Guide, I learned about siege warfare in the 18th century. Siege warfare was and remains critical to the art and science of warfare. In the era of this book, the U.S. and British both engaged in siege warfare. The British used siege warfare at Boston and Charleston. The U.S., with assistance of the French Navy, conducted the siege at Yorktown. A generation later, Grant used siege warfare and joint warfare to defeat the Confederate stronghold of Vicksburg. The author of the Gentleman's Guide instructs the reader on encamping in a siege. It is critical to be located outside of cannon shot, so very practical guidance. The author also advised the reader of the necessity to secure both sides of a river if encamped near a river. Bridges and lines of communication must also be secure. The level of detail was impressive, as the author directed the placement of battalions, squadrons, and engineers. Just as the modern army has its own tactical language, so did the 18th century gentleman. The author explains what and where a line of contravallation is. It's the line between the army and the besieged town. It covers the besiegers from the sallies to the garrison. The second book I found I was much more familiar with. Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben wrote the second book, Regulations for the Order and Discipline of the Troops of the United States during the Revolutionary War. It's very commonly known as the Blue Book. Even today, the Sergeant Major of the Army is updating a new app titled The Blue Book, based on the traditions of von Steuben. Von Steuben wrote the book, which provided the official tactical drills for the Continental Army, because the Continental militias were very divided and there was no grounding. This book guided the Army for more than a quarter of a century before it received its first major update in around 1812. In von Steuben's manual, I learned how a company commander can direct his company to conduct a right wheel maneuver. The guidance is step-by-step and provides guidance to the officer and the non-commissioned officer. The formation enables the large organization to move as one and conduct a weapons inspection or to engage the enemy with their firearms. What I learned from these two books is that even though only about 25 years passed between the writing of the Gentleman's Guide and von Steuben's, that warfare is a science and has been treated as a science even in the early American years. There's a lot we can learn from these individuals and from these books and from studying more on military history. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to working with each of you this week and next.